Hi, my name is Kate, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 7 books I read in the month of May. In May, I read way more books than I usually do. I usually only get around to 3 or 4 books a month, but this month, I got around to reading 7 books. Well, technically finishing 7 books. Some I've been reading, trying to get through for a while. So let me give you a little statistics breakdown of all the books I read. So I'm going to give you a little genres breakdown. So this month I read a total of 5 romance, 1 fantasy, and 1 general fiction. And then for a little ratings breakdown, I read 1 5-star, 1 4.75 star, 1 4-star, 3 3-stars, and 1 2-star. I definitely feel like I read more books than I usually do, but had lower ratings than I usually do. This year, I've just been really more harsh with my ratings, or a little bit more picky. Like, if I didn't absolutely love a book, if it was just mid, I just rated a 3-star and thought it was mid. And so I'm going to give you a little breakdown about all the books individually in the order I read them in. The first book I read this month was Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope. This is the first book in her Silver Pines Ranch series. And this book I gave a 2-star. It wasn't my absolute favorite. It felt really tropey to me. It was this girl, has a toxic breakup, so she moves back to her hometown, and there she re-meets her brother's best friend Nash, and they just kind of hit it off instantly. And I'm not one for insta love, and that's what this book definitely felt like. This book was kind of marketed to me when I first originally saw it as a good small town, steamy, fun time, and I feel like it was definitely that. I just also was told an emotional aspect to it, and me personally did not really feel that emotional aspect. There's definitely emotional topics, so definitely look into that before reading this, but they didn't really it didn't really pull at my heartstrings like I hoped it would. That's not to say it was a horrible book, it just didn't hit for me, but I am interested in maybe continuing this series. I heard that it just gets better throughout all the books, and I definitely love the small town subgenre, and I'm trying to chase that same high that I got from reading Chestnut Springs, so I definitely want to continue the series, and I'll see from there. Next, I read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent. This is the second book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. If you don't know about this series, there's a bunch of duets in this series. So this is the second book in the first duet, which follows Araya, who is basically the human daughter of the vampire king, and we kind of just follow her story and her love story. And in the first book, there's a trials aspect. I absolutely love the first book, which is The Serpent and the Wings, and I gave that a 5-star. So I had really high hopes going into the second one. It was okay to me. It wasn't nearly as good as the first one, and it took me a while to read this book, and I just really couldn't get into it. Once the characters kind of got over their turbulence, it was good, but it just wasn't my favorite enough to hold my attention. I ended up giving this book 3 stars, which is still a good rating to me, but it was just mid. It wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, but I do really like these characters. I just don't know if this series, if I'm going to continue it or not, because the reason I did continue on was because my love for the characters, and the next duet isn't obviously about them, so I don't know how I feel about moving on in the series yet. But I would definitely recommend the first duet, and especially the first book. The next book I read I absolutely love, and that was Love Arranged by Lauren Asher. This is the 3rd book in the Lakefront Billionaire series, and every single book I read by Lauren Asher is always just a hit for me. I have yet to read a book by her that I just hated. There's been a couple of her books that to me were kind of mid, but this one I rated a 4.75. This is a series of interconnected standalone. This book follows Lily and Lorenzo, and there's a big found family aspect in this book, but the reason I didn't give this book a 5 stars is because some of the other characters from in the early books to me were just really insufferable in this book. Absolutely love the first book in this series, but to me those characters, when they were in this book as the siblings, they were just kind of hard to deal with. But to put that aside, I absolutely love this book. I thought the relationship between Lily and Lorenzo felt very real, given that it is fake dating, or it is an arranged situation that they are in. They are in a marriage of convenience, or fiancés. Lily and Lorenzo were just kind of made for each other. They're kind of opposites, and they always say opposites attract. And I definitely saw that in this book. Lily is very flowery, bubbly, colorful, and Lorenzo is literally the opposite of that. I do like the emotional aspects we got to see in this book on both sides. Lily was trying to find herself again after feeling down from a part in this book, and Lorenzo is just dealing with stuff his whole life, so it's good to see that they both kind of go to battle for each other. And that's something I really like in a relationship, is when people stick up for their partner. I definitely saw this in this book on both fronts. Inspiring to see a female main character feel really deeply about her love and her partnership, where she just like will definitely go to battle for them, and the same with any male main character. So this one I definitely recommend. I definitely recommend any book by Lauren Asher, and I definitely recommend this series as a whole. Next book we have Wild Card by Elsie Silver. This is the 4th book in her Rose Hill series, which is not her newest series because she just came out with Fever Dream, but the one before that. It comes after Chestnut Springs, and it kind of follows this new group of characters and another side, but it is interconnected to Chestnut Springs sort of thing. And I love Elsie Silver. I love pretty much any book she's written. I definitely really liked Wild Card. I liked the characters in this book. I read this one mostly through audio. These books can kind of feel a little cringy at times when you're listening to them on audiobook, but this one was fine. So if you want to read this and you want to read on audiobook, I would recommend it that way too. It's also on Kindle Unlimited. Now, to give you a little background of the story, this book follows Gwen, who is a yoga instructor, and she just kind of never has fit into the mold that her family has wanted for her. And so she goes out and she starts living for herself. So one night, her and the main character Bash are kind of stranded at this airport because of this snowstorm they had. And so they kind of spend the night together, but in only an emotional way. Nothing physical happens between them, which I really liked because it didn't really feel like insta lust. It felt more like or insta love. Really, it felt like they really got to build up an emotional connection before ever getting into a relationship. And so they're put in this sticky situation where they end up having to spend a lot of time with each other, and I really liked the emotional development of their relationship. I thought it felt very realistic. I ended up giving this book a 4 stars. I definitely recommend anything by Elsie Silver because it's small town fun time, and I definitely recommend this book. It was probably my favorite, if not my second favorite in this series, and so I definitely recommend this. Speaking of favorite reads of this month, we have Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was my only 5-star of this month, and it definitely deserves that title. I absolutely love and eat up anything Emily Henry writes, and I've been kind of putting off this book, not gonna lie, because my favorite book by her is Happy Place, and this is her second to newest release. I saw a lot of hype surrounding this book, and I was kind of nervous going into it because I didn't know if it was going to necessarily live up to the hype for me, but it definitely did. I really love both of our main characters. They feel so real, and especially our male main character, he seems like this real genuine person. He makes mistakes, but he's also so kind and everything, and I definitely love that aspect. And Daphne feels like a real human with their real problems. So the situation that got our 2 main characters together is kind of an interesting one. Both of their partners break up with them and leave them and get together. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you've read the book, you understand what I'm saying. So Daphne and Miles end up having to move in with each other, and from there they basically fake date to try to make their respectable exes jealous. From there they form this friendship that is really honestly inspiring. I would love to have a friend on this level. So they basically become best friends, and from there they realize they're kind of really meant for each other. The universe put them in this situation, and now they're just living it the best way they could. There's definitely times where we see the characters be vulnerable and emotional with each other, and I definitely think that this is a very good emotional stable relationship that they're in. They have so much parts of their lives that are kind of similar but kind of not at the same time. So for example, not to spoil anything, but both their home lives growing up were kind of difficult in their own respectable ways, and I kind of used that as a way to bring them together, which I really love, because it's they have 2 similar issues, but they both just let him grow from that. And I definitely love both these characters. It's probably my favorite Emily Henry book. I feel really connected to the characters and both their journeys that they went on through. When they finally got together, it was this it feels so real. Definitely recommend any of Emily Henry books, but this one especially if you want a good fun summer read, but it also has this very good emotional aspect to it. Next book I read was One Last Shot. I picked up this book because I was in the mood for a second chance romance and a summer read, and this is a very good summer read. It's fast-paced, it's romantic, and the setting of this book is so atmospheric. I absolutely love that aspect of this book. It's set in Italy, and our female main character, Emerson, goes there trying to get her high school love back because she's just feeling kind of lost in her life, and Theo, who was her high school love, was just the main thing that feels like she's been missing. And so she goes there because he's a photographer on a shoot and she's a supermodel. So she works with this brand that she doesn't normally work with to try and basically win Theo back, and we all know how this goes. She was very successful in that. And the thing I really loved about this book is the past and present timeline. We got to see how their relationship started to build up and how it was like they were easily able to come back to each other in the present timeline. The past timeline was one of my favorite aspects of this book. We got to just see their emotional journey because Emerson had a kind of tough childhood, and we kind of got to see her kind of rise to her fame or whatever, her stardom, and see how Theo was just like her constant all throughout her life. They started out as really good friends and they just immediately clicked, which I really love. That it wasn't like insta love or anything. They just immediately became best friends when they were in high school, and we see their whole like young adult life or whole like high school experience coming together. And so then in the present timeline, when she's trying to win him back, there's all of this underlying emotion, which if you can't tell, I really love a emotional romance, and that part of it was really here. I gave this book a 3-star, and it's not because it was a bad book or anything. I just feel like there was a little bit of chemistry lacking in the present timeline. You could definitely see their love for each other when they were teenagers, but at the point when they were adults, they just seemed kind of very different, and I wish we just would have took a little bit more time for them to come back to each other, because it was just set over a week in the present timeline, and I wish we would have did it over at least like a month or two, because we really needed to rebuild that emotional stable relationship they had as teenagers. But other than that, this book was an absolute great summer read. If you want a fast-paced, good summer romance, this one I would definitely recommend. The last book I have finished in May has been a long time coming. I've been trying to finish The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna for a while now, and I'm not saying that because it's a bad book by any means, but it is a very emotional and very heavy book, and it's set over years and years and years. Our character go through so much struggle and so much heartbreak. She lives in this small town in Texas, and everyone there just kind of just treats her horribly, honestly. They tell her she's not pretty, she's not smart, she's never gonna be anything. But then finally she meets this guy and they spend a night together, and she ends up becoming a part of his family. This book, there's a big theme of love, but it's not a romance by any means. Our character definitely like starts to love the man she marries, but the love isn't necessarily reciprocated. But she ends up becoming a big part of his family, and the love we see from like her in-laws and everything is really strong and is a really great aspect of this book. But to kind of lay like a summary of this book, Elsa, she becomes part of this family, but then the Dust Bowl happens, and so then they are hit with drought and so much loss, and so she kind of just needs to restart her life because her children are kind of starting to resent her. Her husband is just not a great guy, and so they consider moving to California, and eventually they do. And that is the part when this book really started to pick up. Once Elsa finally decided to step into this new role of her life, this book really picked up. That wasn't really until the end of the book, so I will say this book is very slow paced for a very long time. I just felt myself trying to trudge through like the beginning half of this book to kind of like, well, can we kind of get to the point? But I definitely by the end of the book see the reason why the buildup was so long, and I can appreciate it now having finished the book, because there was so much we needed to learn about our characters. We get like it told through the story of Elsa and her daughter, and it was definitely, the buildup was definitely needed. And by the time you got to the end of the book, I feel like it kind of just went like this and it was over. So I definitely wish we would have spent a little bit more time in once they moved to California. It was a big part of the book, but I felt like it was the most important part of the book because we got to see Elsa really become the person she always had wanted to be. And the ending is very sad and kind of heartbreaking, but it's a bittersweet ending, I would definitely say. And so in the end, I gave this book a 3 stars. This book is a great book. I will definitely say that. As far as writing and everything and storytelling, it was great. It just took me so long to read it. I felt very disconnected to the story, but I would definitely recommend if you are interested in this historical setting. So overall, I feel like I had a pretty decent reading month. I definitely got a lot of books read off my physical TBR, and I had a lot of really good books read this month and a lot that I recommend to y'all. So let me know if you loved any of these books and if any of these were your favorites or any books you recommend based off the books I liked this month to keep reading into the next one. So let me know if y'all want any recommendations more than these books, and I will happily give them to y'all. So thank you all so much for watching my May wrap up, and I will see you in my next video. I'm hoping to have some really cool vlogs come out soon, so I can't wait to show those to y'all. So bye everyone, love y'all.